Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. Amara Okoro pressed her soaked shawl tighter around Ife's shivering shoulders as rain pounded the rusty zinc awning above the restaurant's back entrance. Each droplet seemed determined to puncture her resolve. She glanced down at her son's hollow cheeks and whispered, "Stay close, my love." As a former primary school teacher, she had once guided hundreds of children through ABCs and arithmetic, but now she could not even feed her own child. Inside Royal Harvest, the din of clinking cutlery and laughter felt like torture. Patrons in crisp suits and glittering gowns finished courses she could only dream of. The manager's amber spotlight at the hostess stand made her feel exposed, an intruder. Summoning every scrap of dignity, Amara slipped inside just as a waiter swept past. She caught his sleeve, voice trembling. "Sir, please? Any leftovers for my boy?" The waiter's eyes darted to the hostess desk, where the young manager frowned. Patrons paused mid-conversation. Forks hovered inches from their lips. "Ma'am, you must leave," the manager said, voice cool. "I will call security." Amara's heart thundered, but Ife's cough, a dry, rattling plea, cut through the room. Silence fell. The youngest child in the back booth leaned forward. A woman paused mid-forkful. A man in a charcoal suit stood beside the hostess. His tailored shoes clicked on marble as he crossed to Amara. Though soaked, he radiated calm. He knelt beside Ife, brushing water from the boy's curly hair. "What's your name, young man?" he asked gently. Ife's wide eyes searched the man's face. "Ife," he whispered. Amara stared, speechless. The man reached into his jacket and produced a branded takeaway box. "Eat," he said simply. Inside lay Accra fritters and corn pap still steaming. She blinked back tears as he turned to the horrified manager. "Let her stay. No questions." Amara knelt, voice thick. "Thank you, sir." "You." He cut her off, voice soft. "Meet me here tomorrow at sunrise. I have a proposition." He handed her a business card embossed in gold foil. Chidi Uma, chef and co-owner. As the manger sputtered, the stranger rose and strode away into the storm. Amara clutched the card, heart pounding. She whispered to Ife, "Come on, sweetheart. We'll come back." But dawn still felt impossibly far away. Before sunrise, Amara tiptoed through puddles back to Royal Harvest's side entrance, Ife clutching her hand. Her fingers ached from the cold, but she dared not wake the neighbor in staff quarters where they'd slept. The gray sky lightened as she climbed the small concrete steps. Chidi Uma stood beneath the awning, arms folded against his chest. His crisp chef's jacket looked incongruous in the drab alley. Beside him on a wooden crate were 2 steaming cups of cocoa and a plate of Accra. He smiled, eyes kind. "Good morning, Amara." "Good morning, Ife." Ife's face lit up. He scampered forward, cupping the hot cocoa with both hands. Amara sank beside him, voice barely steady. I didn't expect you to wait." Chidi shrugged. "You kept your promise." He handed her the other cup. Then listen." She sipped the cocoa, warmth spread through her limbs. She bit into Accra, soft and spiced. Memories of lost security swelled in her chest. Chidi cleared his throat. "I'm not here to give charity. I need help in the kitchen. Off-peak hours only. You work, you earn a stipend and meals. There's a cot in staff quarters." He indicated a side door. "You can stay there while you find housing." Amara stared. I don't know how to cook professionally." He nodded. "You'll learn. I believe in second chances. In fact, I used to be a street vendor before a benefactor helped me." He paused, gaze steady. "Are you willing to try?" Her pride buckled under Ife's hopeful gaze. She swallowed. "Yes." Inside, the prep kitchen smelled of garlic and simmering stew. A young sous chef rolled his eyes as Amara entered. "Pet project," he muttered to his colleague. The others snickered. Chidi caught them. "Amara's here to work. Help her." His tone was gentle but firm. The pair exchanged grimaces. Chidi handed Amara a scrub brush. "First task, clean the ovens. Fast. Then I'll show you the basics." As she knelt by the gleaming metal, the sous chef discreetly switched containers, paprika for pepper flakes. Amara reached for what she thought was paprika, unaware of the trap. Chidi checked his watch. "Breakfast rush in 1 hour. I have faith." He laid a comforting hand on her shoulder. She nodded, heart pounding. If she failed now, she and Ife would return to the street. But as she scrubbed, she felt a fragile spark of hope. Amara inhaled the acrid tang of the spice rack as she measured what she believed was paprika into the pepper soup pot. The lunch crowd filtered in, businessmen, tourists, neighborhood regulars. She stood under fluorescent lights, the kitchen's heat pressing against her damp skin. Chitty hovered nearby, arms folded. "Mind the balance," he murmured. Amara nodded, recalling her grandmother's instructions, "Heat first, then heart." She stirred gently. A bell rang. She lifted the pot lid, ribbons of steam curled into her face. She ladled soup into bowls and passed them to servers. Within seconds, patrons were coughing, faces flushing. A woman set her bowl down, pushing it away. "Too hot," she gasped. Within minutes, social media users posted videos of diners fanning their mouths. Hashtag fired before first paycheck trended. Amara watched in horror as Chitty's jaw tightened. He grabbed her arm. "Back to the station," he said quietly. In the quieter back kitchen, Chitty glared at her. "You nearly ruined us." Amara's chest constricted. I'm so sorry. I thought." He cut her off. "There's a critic coming tonight, Mrs. Aini Yumaru. You remake that soup or you're out." His expression softened. "But I saw how you held yourself under fire. You can do this." Despair mixed with determination. Amara returned to the prep table, studied the ingredients. She tossed out the pot, wiped the station clean and began again, from dried fish stock to fresh herbs. The other cooks watched, some smirking. At sunset she sent the new soup out. In the silent dining room, only clinking spoons broke the tension. Finally Mrs. Yumaru set her spoon down and studied Amara's face. She reached for her phone. midnight, Amara scrolled through her phone in the staff lounge. Sleep tugged at her eyelids but she could not rest. Then, a notification, Aini Yumaru reviewed Royal Harvest. Her heart hammered. She opened the post. "The best reinterpretation of pepper soup I've tasted in years. Kudos to the new hire. A culinary revelation." Her breath caught. Servers cheered. Within minutes, reservations soared. Chitty appeared in the doorway, smiling despite dark circles under his eyes. "You did it," he said softly. Jealous sous chef Mecca glared. Amara caught him rifling through Chitty's office later. The next day she braced for another crisis. A bailiff summons slid under the kitchen door. "Nigerian Naira 700,000 owed," it read. Her stomach twisted. Mecca smirked from across the prep line. "Microloan default," he said. "Looks like the homeless mom chef might go to court." Amara's chest tightened. If she went down, Ife would lose the one haven she had carved out. She pocketed the summons, voice trembling when Chitty asked, "What's wrong?" She swallowed. "Old debt. They want 700,000 Nigerian Nairas." She looked away. Chitty's face hardened. "I'll help." Amara shook her head. "No charity." That evening, an Instagram DM from Lag Food Fest official invited her to a televised cook-off, auditions at dawn, prize 1 million Nigerian Nairas. But the audition time clashed with her night shift. Rain pattered against the staff quarters window as Amara dialed the microloan office, heart pounding. "I can't pay," she whispered. "Is there a settlement?" The voice on the line crackled. "Nigerian Naira 700,000 in 14 days, or we send you to debtor's prison." Amara's vision blurred. She hung up and sat on the edge of Ife's cot, gazing at his peaceful face. She would not let him sleep on the street again. She turned to her phone. The Lag Food Fest official DM glowed, "Auditions tomorrow at 6 a.m. Text, Amara, to confirm." Her fingers hesitated. At 6 a.m. she was scheduled to prep for tonight's dinner shift. That night she volunteered for extra tasks, sleeping only 2 hours in broken spells. She studied recipes on her phone during brief breaks, imagining strategies. Social media clips of her seasoning soup had hit 2 million views, her digital fame mounting but worth nothing in cash. At 5 a.m. she slipped out. Neighborhood lights flickered as she jogged through deserted streets, arriving at a community hall. Dozens of hopefuls lined up under fluorescent bulbs. Professional chefs in crisp whites eyed her ragged shawl. A celebrity influencer live-streamed the crowd, voice mocking, "Look, the viral homeless mom chef thinks she can hang with us." Amara's hands shook as she stepped forward. The judges explained the challenge. Craft a dish from plantain, egusi, and smoked fish in 15 minutes. The influencer sneered behind his camera, whispering, "Game over." She squared her shoulders, breath steadying. If this gamble paid off, she'd repay her debt and secure a future for Ife. If she failed, she'd lose her only shot at stability. As the timer began, her phone buzzed with an incoming call labeled Boy and Company. Amara's heart lurched. She dared not answer, but the screen glowed insistently. Amara slipped out before dawn, leaving Ife asleep with a kind neighbor in staff quarters. The empty streets of Lagos felt like a different world at that hour. Distant traffic murmured and street lamps cast long shadows. She arrived at the community hall as floodlights sprang on, illuminating a queue of professional chefs, culinary students, and one arrogant influencer streaming live. She swallowed hard, tightening the knot on her apron, and joined the back of the line. Inside, long stainless steel tables bore neatly arranged plantains, egusi seeds, smoked fish, tomatoes, and onions. Judges in crisp attire sat behind a raised dais. A giant timer hovered above them. Amara's pulse pounded. She closed her eyes, recalling her grandmother's voice, "Cook with your heart, child." A booming host voice echoed, "You have 15 minutes. No other ingredients. Show us your creativity." Cameras whirred. The influencer smirked and whispered into his phone, "This woman won't last 30 seconds. Amara's hands trembled, but she forced steady breaths. She began by peeling plantains and slicing smooth rounds. A sous chef nearby sneered as she heated oil, then carefully pan-fried her plantain slices to a perfect golden brown. She pressed on, grinding egusi seeds by hand into a coarse paste, adding smoked fish shreds, crushed tomatoes, and her final secret dash of Cameroonian pepper she snuck from Chitty's pantry. Sweat dotted her brow. 10 minutes remained. The rival sous chef slotted in flambe flames, while Amara focused on flavor. She layered plantain and egusi fish mixture into a small tower. Pressure rose as the timer ticked. She drizzled a reduced just around the silhouette of her appetizer, garnishing with a delicate cilantro sprig borrowed discreetly from the hall's door wreath. As the timer beeped, she stepped back. The hall grew silent. A murmur of admiration rippled among contestants. The head judge, a silver-haired culinary icon, lifted her fork and tasted. She closed her eyes, then opened them in surprise. "Remarkable depth," she declared. "Simple yet profound." Judge Amici, known for his sharp palate, leaned forward. "What inspired your plating?" he asked. Amara's voice shook. "My son's resilience," she replied. "His smile gives me strength." He nodded appreciatively while an aide jotted down notes. In the crowd, a loyal viewer held up a handmade sign, "Go Amara." The cheer, though quiet, bolstered her resolve. The influencer's confident grin faded as judges reached for second bites. Sponsor banners of Lag Food Fest fluttered overhead, reminding everyone of high stakes. As the judges conferred, the host paced behind them, tapping a golden spatula against his palm. He murmured into his mic, "Prizes, cash, mentorship, and media spotlight." Amara's stomach fluttered. She touched the faded photo of Ife in her pocket, whispering a silent prayer. Amara's phone vibrated with a message from Mr. Boy's office. "Final deadline in 12 hours. 700,000 Nigerian nairas. Pay or face consequences." Her heart truly lurched. The cook-off trophy could save her family, but only if she survived the judge's final deliberation. Her future, and Ife's, balanced on this moment. The morning after the audition, Amara woke to a flurry of notifications. Her cook-off clip had gone viral. Hashtags praising her ingenuity trended across multiple platforms. Homeless mom chef, memes filled feeds worldwide, while Lag Food Fest sponsors posted supportive messages. Her heart soared until another wave arrived. Thousands of angry threats from influencer fans, accusing her of stealing the spotlight. One comment read, "Go back to the streets where you belong." She swallowed bile as she scrolled. Then a calming text from Chitty, "Keep your head high. You belong here." His words steadied her resolve. She dressed in her chef's whites and arrived at the studio, where thousands of viewers were live. Cameras tracked her every move. The televised first round began under bright studio lights and thunderous applause. Judges sat before a massive LED screen showing live comments. Unlike the controlled audition, this was a gladiator arena. The influencer stood nearby, arms crossed, mouthing insults. A judge announced the challenge, "Recreate a classic Lagos street dish with your signature twist." Amara's mind raced through suya, puff-puff, and pepper soup. She chose suya, iconic for its communal spirit. She gathered thin beef strips, peanut spice rub, and fresh produce from bustling market stalls simulated on set. The timer started. She mixed her spice blend, roasted peanut powder, cayenne pepper, ginger, garlic, and palm oil. She massaged it into the meat and threaded strips onto skewers. Charcoal briquettes smoldered beneath a custom grill. Flames flickered, and the studio filled with the scent of smoke and spice. Cameras zoomed. Midway through, her phone buzzed. "Ifi kidnapped?" A live comment flashed, "Kidnapped, Aoife in danger." Panic seized her. She dropped a skewer. Security rushed in to verify. The hall held its breath. Moments later they announced a tiny hoax. Aoife was safe, tucked into blankets. Amara exhaled, tears stinging her eyes, but precious seconds were gone. She pressed on, plating her suya with crisp cucumber ribbons, red onion slivers and a drizzle of palm-sweet chutney. A judge tasted and nodded appreciatively. "Balance and authenticity," he praised. The crowd erupted. The influencer's dish, an over-the-top molecular twist, collapsed under humidity. A sponsor rep leaned toward a judge. "Brand image favors authenticity." Tension electrified the air. When judges reconvened, the head judge commended her. "You captured the soul of Lego street food." Cameras flashed. Her social media mentions quadrupled. Backstage, a camera operator whispered to a colleague, "She's genuine." In the audience, a former teacher mouthed, "You inspire me." Amara felt her mission grow beyond her own needs. Then Judge Naji delivered a challenging note. "Your backstory propelled public support. Can your craft stand alone?" Amara steadied herself. Voice clear, she answered, "My cooking is my own story, not pity. Flavor and technique define me." The influencer scowled. The host raised a card with her score, 1 point shy of the influencers. Tomorrow's live voting would decide. Would public sentiment override the judges? Amara's culinary future, and her son's security, teetered on that verdict. The day after the first round, Amara paced the dim hallway behind the studio, heartbeat echoing in her ears. Outside, cheers and laughter leaked through the door as contestants celebrated successes. Inside, tension coiled in her chest. She replayed Judge Naji's words, "Can your craft stand alone?" Doubt gnawed at her. A production assistant emerged. "Your next challenge in 20 minutes. Amara closed her eyes and whispered, "Stay focused." She bent to check her bag. Her phone, a water bottle and a tiny folded scrap of paper with Aoife's drawing of their restaurant, 2 figures under a sun. She smiled through tears. Her son's art anchored her purpose. She entered the studio. The stage glowed under teal and gold lighting. A long table presented obstacles, 5 covered dishes, 6 mystery ingredients. Judges sat in elevated chairs. Studio cameras swiveled. The influencer lounged in the corner, whispering to a cameraman. The host announced, "Your final mystery ingredient, a traditional yam pottage base. Transform it into an elevated entree. You have 20 minutes. Go." Cheers erupted as contestants advanced. Amara wiped sweat from her brow and lifted the first lid. Pounded yam dough stared back. She placed it in a mixer to loosen fibers. She spotted fresh basil leaves tipped by an aide, a last-minute bonus. If she used it, judges would frown, but basil would brighten her dish. Her mind raced. Toned down basil integrated subtly. She transferred dough to a bowl, folded in palm nut cream for richness, then seared tender kudu meat from an earlier provision, layering it atop a creamy pottage circle. She drizzled a reduced pepper sauce and scattered basil chiffonade. Mid-challenge, a floater camera zoomed on her hands. The audience cheered. She heard a shout, "Mama Chef rules." A lump formed in her throat. She forced breath control. 20 minutes blinked by faster than any hour she'd known. At 3 minutes remaining, an assistant whispered, "Aoife has a high fever." Her stomach twisted. She stared at the culprit spoon of pottage, hand shaking. Her son's health had always been her first recipe. Logic warred with maternal terror. If she ran out, everything collapsed. Chitty's text arrived, "Stay calm. He's under care." She read and set her phone down. She nodded to herself and resumed plating. 2 minutes remained. She garnished with basil leaf, then dashed to a corner to wash her hands before returning to face judges. She turned her dish gracefully toward them, chest heaving. The head judge approached, mouth twitching in curiosity. "Innovative," he said. "I see subtle herb notes?" Amara nodded. "Basil balances the creaminess," she explained softly. The judge scribbled notes. The host stepped forward. "That concludes Cookfest's televised rounds. Tomorrow, 1 finalist faces off live. Amara, you are among the top 2. Her chest tightened, eyes stinging as genuine thunderous applause unexpectedly erupted around her. Dreams and fears collided in that moment. Amara realized one final choice would determine not just her destiny but Aoife's future. The next morning, the excitement of being top 2 still fluttered in Amara's chest, but paperwork in her hand brought brutal reality crashing back. The loan shark, Mr. Boy, had sent a legal notice. He planned to seize her late mother's land deed used as collateral. She needed a witness to prove the debt's predatory terms. Mecca, the sous chef who sabotaged her early on, was the only insider who could confirm the spy-switching scheme and the timing of Boy's threat. That evening, Amara entered the deserted prep kitchen. Pots clinked softly on empty counters. Mecca wiped his hands and sighed. "You wanted to see me?" he asked. Amara lifted her chin. "I need your help, Mecca. Only you can verify when you replaced the paprika with bird's eye chili that day. Without proof of intentional sabotage, Boy will claim default. He'll take everything." Mecca folded his arms. His face flickered with guilt. "I did switch the jars," he admitted quietly. "I wanted to embarrass you, Chitty's favorite, but I never called Boy." He looked away. "I only found out he got involved after I saw his men outside the restaurant." Amara's shoulders slumped. He had denied tipping off Boy. "Then you'll testify to the judge?" she asked. He hesitated. "If I do, I'm risking my reputation here." He nodded toward the closed kitchen door. "But I'll do it, if I can keep my job. I can't afford to lose this gig." Amara reached out. "You'll have job security. Chitty supports this." She handed him a consent form drafted by her lawyer. "Sign here." Mecca took a breath and signed, his hand steady. Relief swept through Amara. "Thank you," she whispered, edges of her vision warming with gratitude. Chitty had a public brief ready to release immediately, complete with detailed signed affidavits. The dim light reflected off a simmering soup kettle in the corner, steam curling upward as if reality itself trembled in that moment. They shook hands under the harsh fluorescent light. "We're in this together," he said. Just then a camera flash burst near the doorway, blinding them momentarily. They turned to see a smartphone lens peering through the door's glass panel. Mecca's face paled. "Who?" Before they could react, the flash snapped another image. The photographer fled into the shadows. Amara's heart thundered. "They're going to blackmail us," she said. "Evidence of our meeting could be twisted to look criminal, maybe bribery or conspiracy." Mecca stared at the floor. "Boy's men," he muttered. "He wants leverage." His voice shook. Amara steadied her voice. "We'll preempt this. We'll submit our statements publicly, release them to the press and social media. If they leak our private meeting, we'll have already exposed the truth." Mecca nodded, determination replacing fear. "Let's do it." As they turned back to the counters, Amara's phone buzzed with an incoming tweet. #chef scandal photo leak incoming. Amara and Mecca's secret pact? Details soon. The words glowed on the screen. Her chest tightened again. Boy's war had only just begun. By morning, the smartphones glowed with gossip. Social media fraudulently labeled the photo of Amara and Mecca's clandestine pact as evidence of an affair between Chef Chitty and a junior cook. Headlines blared, "Chitty's secret romance," and "Scandal grips royal harvest." Investors clicked with alarm. The image, backlit by the harsh fluorescent kitchen light, made Chitty's protective stance toward Amara appear intimate. Chitty entered the day's board meeting flanked by anxious senior staff. The chairman's gaze was steely. "Chef Uma, explain this," he demanded, sliding the screenshot across the polished mahogany table. "Our brand can't survive this rumor." Chitty cleared his throat. "This photo captures me consoling Mecca, who agreed to testify. There is no affair." His voice hardened. "The allegations are baseless and malicious." He pressed his palm to the image on the tablet. The chairman's eyebrow rose. "Regardless, public perception is damage. We must show accountability." He tapped an emergency agenda slide. "Effective immediately, we strip you of day-to-day control." Chitty's face darkened. "We'll appoint our influencer as guest host for the upcoming Food Fest launch and place your protégé on administrative leave." The chairman pointed to Amara's empty chair. "Miss Okoro is suspended pending review of her conduct." Amara, summoned mid-shift, arrived to find security at the entrance. Whispers trailed her through the hallway. "Disgrace, unprofessional." Amara's cheeks burned as she struggled to hold back tears. She gripped the suspension letter, voice wobbly. "Why?" she whispered. Her mind raced. How could a single photo undo months of perseverance? She glimpsed Chitty across the foyer. His eyes met hers, pain mingled with resolve. He mouthed, "Fight back." But staff avoided her gaze as she was escorted away. In the CEO's office, the chairman addressed Chitty. "We're also pushing the influencer's narrative, capitalizing on his sudden fan base. He'll rebrand Royal Harvest's image. Consider yourselves on thin ice. Next misstep and you're both out." He rose, signaling the meeting's end. Ms. Ease, a senior sponsor representative, slipped into the room. She caught Chitty's eye, offered a supportive nod and whispered, "We believe in authenticity." Chitty clenched his jaw. He looked at his reflection in the darkened window, the man who built this restaurant with heart, now trapped by rumor and corporate strategy. He vowed quietly, "We defiantly won't let them win." Outside, an official statement circulated, "Royal Harvest is committed to transparency and excellence. Internal review underway." But a single line at the bottom sent Amara's heart racing. Final challenge to reclaim position. A head-to-head finale against guest Chef X. Should she lose, she agrees to step away from professional cooking. Minutes later, the influencer posted a video. He appeared in a crisp chef's jacket emblazoned with the Royal Harvest logo, spatula in hand like a gauntlet. He looked directly into the camera. "Cook this emergency dish in 20 minutes. Winner takes all or goes home forever." Amara stared at the screen, her future hanging in the balance as shadows lurked in every corner of the kitchen. Amara stood under the blinding studio lights, heart pounding like a drum as the host announced the final challenge. Use abandoned supermarket produce to craft a zero-waste gourmet platter. Cameras swirled. Her rival, the slick influencer, smirked, arms folded across his designer apron. The audience erupted in cheers and flashing cell phone lights. Amara's mind flashed back to that rainy night, picking leftover vegetables at a trash bin. Now she had pristine heirloom tomatoes with bruised skins, wilted kale and day-old bread as her canvas. She inhaled deeply, summoning every lesson from her grandmother's hut kitchen. "Cook with compassion," her grandmother had said. As contestants rushed to claim ingredients, she noticed the influencer reaching for the same crate of spotted carrots. She darted forward and claimed a bundle, grinning when he scowled. Cameras captured every moment, social media polls ticked upward in her favor. Yet her palms were slick with sweat. She lined up her produce: carrots, kale, sourdough ends, a handful of overripe tomatoes and a lone eggplant. The influencer chose a sculptural tower of cherry tomatoes and molecular foams, flashy but fragile. Midway through the 20-minute clock, one of her pots cracked, spilling tomato puree across her station. Her face flushed. The influencer smirked into his phone, broadcasting, "Chef Mom just went mom wreck." But Amara's instincts kicked in. She scooped the pooled puree, reducing it into a smoky jam, then tossed and chopped kale stems for crunch. Her improvised relish smelled divine. With 5 minutes left, judges paced behind her. She assembled a kale and toasted bread mosaic topped with thinly shaved carrots and dollops of tomato jam. She remembered Chitty's words, "Serve heart on a plate." She finished with a light eggplant crisp, thin slices fried into golden chips. The influencer's tower wobbled ominously. He pressed his finger against the foam. Foam slumped. The head judge took a deliberate bite of Amara's platter, closed her eyes, then exchanged glances with her peers. The studio fell silent. Finally the judge tapped her mic, "Remarkable depth and zero waste. May the best chef win." The host raised both contestants' hands. "It's a tie," he boomed. One sudden death dessert round, 5 minutes. Amara inhaled sharply. One more battle, one more test, and her future, and Aoife's security, hung in the balance. The blender's roar filled Amara's ears as the host counted down 5 minutes for the sudden death dessert. Cameras swooped in close, the audience leaned forward. Her rival whipped out a molecular gelation kit, while Amara rummaged through her station and found a half-eaten loaf of staff kitchen bread, a bruised plantain and a rogue orange from earlier. She paused, considering her grandmother's trick, caramelizing plantain in palm wine reduction. Judges hovered, their expressions unreadable. The influencer's gel sphere glittered under studio lights. Amara peeled the plantain, sliced it thin, then tossed it into her hot pan with palm wine, lime zest, and a spoon of leftover brown sugar. Steam hissed. The pan's aroma curled into the judge's nostrils. She sliced the stale bread into crumbs and toasted them, creating a crunchy base. The influencer sneered as he measured chemicals into test tubes. With 90 seconds left, her caramelized plantain stick to the pan, refusing to release. Her heart lurched. She grabbed a spatula and pried the sticky slices free, scraping caramel bits back into the sauce. The clock ticked relentlessly. 3, 2, 1. The buzzer sounded. Amara plated 2 fan-shaped slices of plantain atop the breadcrumb nest, drizzled extra palm wine caramel, then garnished with a tiny mint leaf smuggled from a garnish tray. She stepped back, breathing hard. The influencer's gel spheres sat in a sterile pool of flavored liquid. Judges tasted his dish first, One bit triggered a cough as the humidity collapsed his creation. Next, the head judge sampled Amara's dessert. A hush fell. He closed his eyes, inhaled, then broke into a slow smile. "Unexpectedly delightful," he declared. Before he could continue, the studio announcer's voice boomed, "Voting system error. Final results delayed until investigation." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Amara's relief twisted into dread. An unseen glitch threatened to steal her victory and her last hope to save her family. Fluorescent monitors blinked red as the studio's IT head waved frantic hands. "Data breach," he shouted. Producers scattered. Contestants huddled behind curtains. Amara's heart hammered. Again the specter of sabotage loomed. In a locked control room behind the stage, Amara, Chitty, and the show's tech lead reviewed logs. The influencer's team had hacked the voting servers, injecting bots to inflate his tally. A code trail led back to an offshore IP address. Outsiders were barred entry, but whispers of bribery and rigged software leaked to news sites. The head judge's voice quavered, "If this is true, the festival's integrity collapses. Sponsors threaten lawsuits." Amara gripped Chitty's hand under the table, recalling the eviction notice and the sinking of her mother's land deed. A junior IT clerk discovered that the influencer's assistant had left an unencrypted debug file on the live server. The file contained a manifest of all bot accounts and time stamps. Was proof. In a press scrum, cameras rolled as Amara stepped forward, voice steady, "I won't accept a victory built on lies. Here is the evidence of vote manipulation." She handed a USB drive to the festival director, who plugged it into a tablet and scrolled through logs live on camera. Gasps and murmurs erupted. The influencer, white-knuckled, tried to grab the drive but was held back by security. Sponsors pivoted, praising Amara's courage. The director announced, "We disqualify the influencer. Amara is the winner, pending legal clearance." But as relief surged, Amara's phone buzzed. Mr. Boy's final eviction notice had been served. She had 12 hours before the courts sealed her fate. Her triumph tasted bittersweet. Victory in the contest, but a battle for her home still raged. Rain lashed the restaurant's side entrance as Amara and Aoife huddled under a torn tarpaulin. Night chill seeped through her coat. Her son whimpered, hugging a small blanket. Amara's spirit cracked. Even after winning the cook-off, Boy's eviction loomed. At dawn, Chitty arrived with steaming mugs of tea and a determined expression. "I fought for an injunction," he said. "Pro bono lawyer Mrs. Adana Ease thinks we have a chance." He ushered them inside the empty dining room where staff tables stood silent. Then Boy's men stormed the courtyard, served a new notice, "Trespassers on private property." They brandished court documents, signed and sealed. Chitty's jaw snapped shut. This is war. Inside the dining room, a rookie reporter live-streamed the altercation. Thousands tuned in, pressing the like button and sending microdonations. Amara's face flickered on screens everywhere. Mrs. Ease arrived clutching a thick legal brief. Consumer protection laws void predatory microloan contracts. She slammed the documents on the table. But Boy filed a defamation suit yesterday. He froze all your bank accounts, including Chitty's personal payroll funds. Staff arrived to find their salaries unpaid. Chefs set down knives. Servers folded arms. The head chef muttered, "We can't feed our families." Panic threatened to unravel the restaurant's revival. Amara rose, voice clear, "We have our dignity. I'm giving every donation we receive to cover today's wages." She pulled out her phone, opened the donation app, and initiated transfers. "Take what you need and stay. We'll fight together." Moved, the staff rallied. They formed a human chain, moving tables to clear a space. Under flickering lights, they cooked breakfast for Aoife and other children who'd accompanied parents. On livestream, the message spread, hashtag Team Amara refuses to quit. As the last plate was served, Amara checked her phone. A court bailiff's final text read, "Eject within 2 hours or face contempt charges." She looked at her staff, determined. "Gather what you can." We marched to the courthouse. Outside, thunder rolled, another storm on the horizon, but Amara's resolve blazed brighter. Royal Harvest's stately facade belied the turmoil within. The board chairman paced the grand foyer, phone pressed to his ear as staff lined up behind Amara in the courtyard. There were over 50 chefs, servers, and cleaners, united. Workers held placards, "Fair wages now," and "We stand with Amara." Cameras from local news crews captured the scene as the chairman ended his call and approached the crowd. "This is unacceptable," he said through a clenched jaw. "You're breaching contract. Disperse or face termination." A young server, Ada, stepped forward. We gave our loyalty when no one else would. We won't leave. Her voice trembled but carried. Other staff cheered. The chairman's face darkened. Then I will replace you. He signaled security. Chitty and Mrs. Ease appeared beside Amara. Legal backups here, Chitty whispered. We can challenge any wrongful dismissal. The chairman's eyes flicked to Mrs. Ease's briefcase. At that moment, a trending tweet from the governor's office lit up phones. Governor commends Royal Harvest staff unity and urges fair resolution. Official badge icons confirmed authenticity. The chairman's security guards hesitated. News crews amplified the story. Restaurant uprising, workers demand justice. Hashtags trended. Investors called the chairman, warning of shareholder backlash. The chairman's phone buzzed incessantly. He stepped back, voice strained. Very well. I'll call an emergency board meeting. But mark my words, this won't be forgotten. He turned on his heel, disappearing inside. Staff erupted in cheers. Ada hugged Amara, tears shining. Chitty held back a grin. You did it, he said softly. Amara exhaled, voice hoarse. We did it. Aoife toddled into the courtyard, clutching a small placard reading, I love Mama. The crowd laughed and cried. In the chants and celebration, Amara's phone vibrated. A final message from Mr. Boy blinked. You may have staff behind you, but what about the bank's auction tomorrow? Be there or lose everything. The words lingered in the festive air, reminding Amara that the fight was far from over. The boardroom's glass walls gleamed under fluorescent lighting as Amara, Chitty, and Mrs. Ease took their seats around the polished table. Chairman Okoye sat at the head, his expression unreadable. The air smelled of polished wood and stale coffee. A banker's lamp cast a warm pool of light over a stack of legal documents. Miss Okoro, Okoye began, voice cool, we convened this emergency meeting to decide your future at Royal Harvest. He slid a thick contract across the table. Sign this and we forgive half your debt to Mr. Boy. We'll also offer you a VP position and a share of corporate profits. Amara exchanged a quick glance with Chitty. She swallowed. Under what conditions? She asked in a steady voice. Okoye's thin lips curved. Simple. Acknowledge publicly that the Chile fiasco was deliberate marketing and admit you manipulated public sentiment. His fingertips tapped the contract. Gasps rippled around the table. Chitty's jaw clenched. He leaned forward. That clause is slanderous, he said. Amara never intended sabotage, she's worked tirelessly under impossible pressure. Okoye shrugged. Our investors demand a narrative. He raised an eyebrow. Take it or your debt stands. Silence thickened. Amara's pulse thundered. Every cell screamed to refuse. She coughed. I need legal counsel, she said, voice firm. I cannot sign away my integrity. Okoye's gaze sharpened. Very well. But if you do not sign, Mr. Boy's full claim stands. He tapped the documents. Time is short. Mrs. Ease cleared her throat, sliding a sealed envelope across the table. We've uncovered proof that voids Boy's contract, she said. Consumer protection statutes deem predatory microloans unenforceable without the lender's countersignature. The chairman's eyes narrowed. Is this verified? Mrs. Ease produced a signed affidavit. Yes. Rain rattled against the window. Amara exhaled. Then the debt vanishes, she said. We won't sign any NDA. Okoye leaned back, fingers steepled. Only if Boy's lawyer doesn't contest before dawn. He's en route out of the country. Chitty slammed his hand on the table. Then we must intercept that flight. Okoye tapped a tablet. Proceed, but remember, fail and this restaurant, and your reputation, are lost. Amara's fingers trembled as she rose. She caught Chitty's eye, resolve hardening. We depart in 15 minutes. Mrs. Ease tucked the affidavit into her briefcase. The chairman added, we reconvene at sunrise. Outside the boardroom, Mrs. Ease checked her phone. The late-night flight to London was boarding now. Time was already running out. When the sleek SUV pulled up outside the boardroom, Amara's heart pounded. Chitty threw open the door and steered her inside. Mrs. Ease clutched the sealed affidavit and a printed injunction. The Lagos skyline blurred past as they sped toward Murtala Muhammad Airport Terminal 2, where Boy's lawyer was due to board a midnight flight. Inside the car, Amara's phone buzzed with a live-tracking alert. #Chef Race Live. Chase for Boy's lawyer. A digital map showed the flight path and a countdown. Each kilometer ticked away. Mrs. Ease murmured, we have 8 minutes. Chitty braked abruptly, veering into a side street to bypass traffic. Code green? He asked. Amara tapped her phone. Okoye's chairman had approved clearance. Soon, streetlights changed to green in her path. They skidded into the terminal forecourt. Mrs. E sprinted through security, the injunction held high. Amara and Chitty followed, weaving past late-night travelers. The departure board glowed above. British Airways 620 to London, Gate 12B, final call. They burst into the boarding area. A single line of passengers stretched toward the jetway. At its front stood the lawyer, briefcase in hand, scanning the crowd. Mrs. E's pushed forward, holding out the signed amendment. "Sir, you must sign this now. Without your signature, the microloan claim is void." Airline staff hesitated, but the lawyer's eyes flicked to the document and then the boarding pass. Without a word he signed. Amara exhaled, relief flooding her. Just as the pen lifted, two airport police officers stepped forward. "Step back," one shouted, hands on his holster. Chitty raised his voice. "This is urgent legal business." The officer cut him off. "You're blocking boarding. Step away or be detained." Within seconds Chitty was cuffed. Amara lunged, voice cracking. "He's a chef." The officer shoved her aside. "Security procedure." Amara's phone buzzed, #FreeChef Chitty trending. Camera flashes erupted as onlookers streamed the arrest live. Mrs. E snapped photos. "Don't worry," she vowed. "We'll get him out." Amara stood frozen as Chitty was led through the jetway doors, victory in hand, but her ally slipping away in cuffs and dawn fast approaching. Amara stormed down the corridor toward the holding cells, her cane tapping a frantic rhythm. She paused before a barred room where Chitty sat, wrists reddened by cuffs, head bowed. Uniformed officers warned her back. She thrust her phone forward, screen glowing, #FreeChef Chitty, 10K viewers live. One guard hesitated. "Show proof," he muttered. Amara rotated the screen to a news clip. The influencer's ex-assistant had leaked emails proving the board colluded with Boy to exploit her story. "You see this?" she said. "The governor just tweeted support. We have an order." The guard checked his phone. "Order from Aso Rock. Release Chef Uma immediately." He unlocked the cell. Chitty rose, wincing as he rubbed his wrists. "I thought." "You're free," Amara said, relief and fury mingling. They hurried to a makeshift press tent outside the terminal. Reporters, microphones at the ready, pressed in. A governor's spokesperson stepped forward. "We commend law enforcement's compliance. Any misuse of power will be investigated." She paused. "Chef Chitty Uma is hereby released." Chitty addressed the crowd, voice firm. "This fight goes beyond any one person. It's about justice and community. Thank you for standing with us." Cameras flashed, capturing every word. After the press conference, Amara and Chitty climbed into a waiting taxi. Through the window, fans cheered, waving homemade banners. "Harvest Hope," they chanted. When they turned onto Victoria Island Road, a street lamp illuminated the front of Royal Harvest, now plastered with a large "For Auction" sign and a notice. "To satisfy creditors, auction, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Amara's stomach clenched. Chitty gripped her hand. "We won one battle," he said softly. "Now we protect our home." Under the pale streetlight, Amara realized they had fewer than 12 hours to stop an auction that would erase everything they had fought for. Dawn broke over the city as Amara's phone buzzed nonstop. The Harvest Hope cooperative crowdfunding campaign had hit its 30 million Nigerian nairas goal, enough to outbid the auction and save Royal Harvest. Donors from across Lagos and the diaspora celebrated under #HarvestHope. Chitty woke Ife, who stretched in his tiny chef's hat. "We did it," Chitty said. Amara's eyes brimmed. "This belongs to everyone," she whispered. By mid-morning, a throng gathered at the bank's marble foyer. Banners proclaimed, "Harvest Hope wins." A clerk announced into a microphone, "Bid verified. Cooperative takes ownership." The crowd erupted. Supporters hugged, tears glistened, and children waved miniature chef's spatulas. Hand in hand, Amara and Chitty walked into the dining hall, now sunlit through towering windows. Tables bore centerpieces of fresh herbs from community gardens. Staff, formerly at-risk youth, moved with pride in new uniforms featuring the Harvest Hope logo, a golden mortar and pestle embraced by joined hands. Taiwo, the young cook Amara once trained, grinned, "I'm a chef now." Amara addressed everyone, voice ringing, "This restaurant is our shared achievement. We will employ single parents, mentor youth, partner with farmers, and eliminate waste." Applause thundered. Chitty added, "As culinary director, I pledge seasonal, zero-waste menus that honor our roots and our future." That evening, the soft opening welcomed donors under lantern-lit arches. Servers offered velvety pepper soup and bite-sized yam fritters. Ife tasted his mother's soup, eyes shining. Laughter and African jazz filled the air. Conversations hummed. Mrs. Adeoye, a retired teacher and early donor, raised a glass. "To harvest hope," she toasted. "To harvest hope," echoed the hall. Then the room stilled. By a back window sat Mr. Boy in a sharply tailored suit, applauding gently. His gaze held admiration and apology. Amara's pulse quickened. She moved toward him. "Mr. Boy." He stood, extending a hand. "I regret how I sought to destroy you. I wish to sponsor your financial literacy workshops and support Harvest Hope," he said, sincerity in his voice. Amara surveyed her staff and donors, their faces alight with hope. She returned her gaze to Boy's outstretched hand. "Yes," she whispered, understanding that redemption, and a shared future, could be the most powerful recipe of all. The next morning, Royal Harvest's dining room pulsed with anticipation. News crews, donors, and community members filled every seat. Tables bore a special tasting menu showcasing rescued produce, heirloom tomatoes, bread bowls crafted from surplus loaves, and a miniature pepper soup served in edible cups. Amara, apron crisp and eyes bright, surveyed the room. Cameras rolled. Chitty stood beside her, chef's jacket immaculate. Ife perched on a high chair, spoon in hand, tasting a bright lemon toppin' patty and nodding enthusiastically. Amara tapped her glass. "Welcome to our full-circle feast," she announced. "Every dish tells a story of resilience, of second chances." As the first course circulated, a hush fell. Boy, seated at a corner table, rose and approached the head of the room. He bowed his head. "By court order, I owe a public apology," he said, voice steady. "I recognize the harm I caused. I pledge to fund financial literacy workshops here at Harvest Hope, and to learn from this community." His words carried over the gentle hum of appreciation. Amara stepped forward. "Mr. Boy's journey shows that generosity and accountability can transform us all." She turned to the guests. "Tonight isn't just about taste, it's about every person who believed in us." Applause swelled. As dessert, caramelized plantain with lime salt glaze, was served, cameras panned to Ife, perched happily at the head table, wide-eyed. Amara smiled, memory of that rainy underpass flickering behind her eyes. She turned to the camera crew capturing the event. "Who here feels unseen?" she asked softly. "Harvest Hope saved a restaurant, but it saved countless hearts. There's a seat here for you, come find your second chance." The lights dimmed, music rose, and the celebration stretched into the night. Proof that when a community rallies, even the deepest wounds can be healed around one unforgettable table. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.